Tonight, the Bangala people look to appeal a federal court decision and questions remain around the Broken Hill pipeline.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. The Bangala people are considering whether to appeal a federal court decision which rejected their pleas to be able to vote on the nuclear waste facility near Kimba. The federal government now hoping to recommence the consultation process. Garth Burley has the story.
The search for a South Australian site to house Australia's nuclear waste was halted in August last year, just days before voting papers were due to be mailed out. But on Friday, the federal court ruled in favour of the Kimba Council, meaning that search for a site could soon continue. Justice Richard White dismissing the claims from the Bangala people that the Kimba Council contravened the Racial Discrimination Act by restricting voting to only those who live within the council boundaries. Bangala Aboriginal Corporation representatives weren't available for comment on camera today, but a statement says their people have ancient connections to the land around Kimba, and it is sad in the 21st century they needed legal action to allow a right to vote.
I reject the view that they can't have a say. I mean, of course they can have a say, they can't have a vote.
Rowan Ramsey says there are other ways to gauge community support, such as using petitions and sending submissions to the Minister's office. The federal government is wary of the potential that Bangala will appeal the decision and hopes to recommence consultation as soon as possible.
I hope within the next 8 weeks, 9 weeks, that kind of period, we can actually get this process back on the road.
The government also denying reports Napandi near Kimba is the front runner in the site selection.
There's been no decision made about which site it would be.
The Bangala people say they will officially decide on whether to appeal the federal court decision within the next week. Until then, the proponents, including the federal government, will wait with bated breath.
The New South Wales government says it will not release the business case for the $500 million Broken Hill pipeline. There have been numerous calls for its release, with claims it's in the public interest, but the government maintains releasing the documents would breach confidentiality clauses.
Supplying Broken Hill with water, but at what cost? That's the question on a number of concerned minds.
This was a pipeline the Broken Hill community didn't want to have to pay for.
I think that is a big long-term concern, and it really just adds to the angst that this hasn't been a transparent process for such a big investment the community didn't want.
Before construction even began on the Wentworth to Broken Hill pipeline, the call has been for its complete business case to be made public. The $500 million project raising questions over who will cover the maintenance and operation costs.
When we see big water infrastructure or electricity infrastructure put in place, ultimately it's the consumers of the water and energy that pays for it.
The Department of Industry denied the request for the business case to be made public this week, saying it couldn't because of confidentiality. It says to release the pipeline case would breach a confidentiality clause and would affect the department from being able to enter into future agreements with other parties. Also that it's their decision that any privileged information is not released. But for Mr Kennedy, those excuses don't stack up. He's highly critical of the reasons behind the project, saying building the pipeline, which uses 37 megalitres per day to a city which only uses 14 to 16 megalitres, has other motivations than just securing one town's water supply.
They were going to definitely supply other groups, and in my opinion they were always going to supply different mining ventures.
A spokesperson from the State Water Minister's office says the pipeline was decided from a list of 19 options following extensive research by multiple experts, and a summary of the pipeline business case can be found on the state government's website. But that doesn't answer the calls for the full case to be released. Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Winemakers in Clare are looking to cryptocurrency in an effort to safeguard their products from fraud. They hope to create a digital screw cap to help authenticate the region's wine, with experts saying some products' authenticity is under threat.
Coupling wine with technology. 2 grape growers in the mid-north teaming up with a European software security company to help protect the Clare Valley's wine industry.
The authenticity of wine internationally is under threat. There are people who are buying wine that actually isn't It isn't what they think it is.
There might be a darker side to your favourite drop of red, with the industry dealing with the growth of knockoff products and counterfeit wines in the international market.
$3 billion of Australian wine now, and our biggest market is China.
From falsifying a grape's origin or variety to plagiarising famous brands, wine fraud is becoming an increasing concern.
Penfolds, for example, are suffering where people sell a wine that has a label that looks like it's Penfolds, but it's not.
Winemaker and grape growers David Travers and Jeff Grossett are now seeking to tackle the problem before it ends up in their own backyard. They hope to use blockchain, an encryption technology which is resistant to being modified from an outside source.
You can't change it, and it's not centralised and no one owns it, so it's something that consumers can put complete trust in.
The duo, recently winning a $50,000 grant in March, hope to incorporate the technology into the screw cap of a wine bottle.
The importance of linking the physical to the digital, and the way that we propose to do that is through use of QR codes.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Lincoln community organisations are encouraged to apply for the 6th round of the Bendigo Bank Grants Program. The bank committing up to $200,000 in grants for organisations next year. It's hosting an information session next month with community and sporting groups invited to attend. Applications for the grants will be open next month and be available until the start of September. 6 projects to boost the Flinders Ranges business community have been given the green light as part of the federal government's Drought Communities program. One in particular is aiming to put a modern twist on silo art installations.
2 South Australian towns among the growing number of communities across the country affected by the drought. But a bill of new projects is hoping to be a shot in the arm to Corn and Hawker.
And we've had approval for about $600,000 worth of projects.
Gym and airstrip upgrades, streetscaping and improvements to water sources among those on the list, as well as a drought communities officer, which will help connect people with support services.
There's apparently a fair bit of support available in various avenues, but not everyone knows where they are or knows how to access them.
But the council is most excited by a digital silo projection, utilising the large structures as a backdrop to beam photos and even movies. Mayor Peter Slattery says nighttime flicks could become a drawcard for tourists.
Having people stay here overnight is probably a real big thing for the local economy.
Council will look to engage local businesses for a number of developments in a bid to reduce the economic hardships of the drought.
People aren't spending as much money in the community and that because of the drought conditions, and so it's really, building that sustainable and vibrant communities really.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, Christmas in July, a float under development set to paint the town red, and we see how crops are faring this winter in the mid-north. Welcome back. Port Lincoln's Community House is getting into the festive season a bit earlier this year, with volunteers working together to build a Christmas float for the end-of-year celebrations. The project helping to upskill volunteers, preparing them for future work.
Bringing some festive cheer to the city of Port Lincoln, volunteers at the Community House working together to build a Christmas float for the jolly man himself.
It's not just about a Christmas festivity. It's also about volunteers learning new skills and being creative to create the float as well.
Over 10 volunteers from the community support organisation MADEC, providing a helping hand in creating the float. The team learning new skills in carpentry and power tools along the way, helping to prepare them for future work.
So a lot of people who haven't done any work, this is an awesome way for them to put it on their resume.
Well, as you can see here, there's still a bit of work before these guys become the real deal. But these reindeers and their sleigh will soon be gracing the streets of Port Lincoln, spreading Christmas cheer.
We're actually collecting as we speak all sorts of soft toys and things to give away to the kids just through the month of December.
Work on the 20-foot sleigh started a month ago. Organisers hoping to be finished just in time for the festive season.
There'll be a big jolly man and some elves running around and little helpers and lots of music.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill City Council is inviting locals to celebrate the official reopening of Patton Park in the city's south. The park recently received a $700,000 refurbishment that included a new playground, footpaths and amenities. Council says the revamp of the area has brought the shopping precinct to life and given families a place to go with their children. The reopening ceremony will be held at lunchtime on Saturday. Port Broughton is set to enjoy a new food and beverage festival next year. The coastal town will host Seafood on Spencer, an event celebrating the region's seafood industry along with local wine, craft beer and distilled gin. Organisers say it's a great opportunity to showcase the region's products and boost tourism numbers. The family-friendly event is set to take place on the 10th of April. Farmers have converged on the Mid-North Hartfield site for their annual winter walk. The day an opportunity for local growers to meet with industry experts and observe new trials.
Mid-North farmers are growing their knowledge. The Hartfield Day shed full to capacity with those from across the region, arriving in droves for the annual winter walk.
We host this event annually and it's the first opportunity for our grower and consultant and industry members to come have a look at the field site.
An opportunity for local growers to tour the facilities and gain insight into the group's latest trials and research. This year there's a focus on canola and assessing the risk management involved with growing.
We're just out in the field at the moment having a look at how to identify canola growth stages because it can be tricky trying to work out growth stages as they progress during the season.
So it's a good opportunity for our canola variety trials, for instance. You can actually see how good the early vigour is of some of those.
Winter is an optimal time for farmers to pick up the early visual differences in a crop's growth. Today, a prelude to the site's big day planned for spring.
Main field day is in September, but this is a good opportunity for growers to actually see the early establishment, especially with some of the trials.
The day also including speeches by industry experts, helping farmers figure out the perfect match for crop varieties and when is the best time to sow.
It's a great day, great weather, and a good opportunity for growers to see what can be presented in September at the main field day.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Students learn hockey tips from one of the very best, and Britt will join us with the weather. Welcome back. An Olympian who originally hails from the country says there needs to be more of a focus on fostering sport in regional communities. Hockey player Kieran Govers hosting a special workshop for young Port Lincoln players in a bid to increase interest in the game.
Learning the tips and tricks from one of the best. Over a dozen keen hockey players braving the cold weather for a special workshop with an Olympic champion.
Kids are loving it. The coaches are thoroughly enjoying getting, I guess, the expertise of those current drills that these guys are using in overseas Olympians.
Australian field hockey player and former country boy Kieran Govers hosting several workshops in Port Lincoln, hoping to grow and support hockey within regional communities.
These days people forget where you come from and they don't sort of give back, and that's where I'm trying to step in and help out wherever I can and wherever I'm available.
The World Hockey Champion says regional sport desperately needs more support from community and politicians, with many promising athletes leaving town, venturing out to other countries to pursue their sport.
It's disappointing sometimes because if you're from the country, you want to stay in the country and help your community out. So I'm from a country background, so I try and help out as much as I can.
It's the second year Kieran's hosted the workshop, putting the eager players through their paces, honing in on the basic skills needed to make any great player.
I've just been trying to nut it out with the juniors that you can't play hockey without trapping or pushing a ball. So yeah, it could be boring at some times, but it's the fundamentals of your sport.
I learned how to jinx properly, and I liked doing the one where you had to shoot at goals from a long distance.
It was really fun. It was a really good experience today, and yeah, I hope it comes down again.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Time now for a look at the sport results. Here's Pat in Broken Hill.
It was a quiet week for sport across the Spencer Gulf, and in Broken Hill there was a bit happening here in the Silver City. Let's take a look at the results. Even though it's the middle of winter, local tennis players have not hung up the rackets. The winter comp is going strong despite the chilly conditions. In the first game, the Blues defeated the Warriors 5 sets 39 games to 1 set 18 games. Leonie Channing and Tim O'Neill in fine form there. The next matchup saw Raptors down the Patriots. The final fixture saw the Bruins overcome the Rams 4 sets to 2, Tom Kennedy winning his 3 sets. The Broken Hill racket sports continue with a look at the recent round of squash. Iron Man showed their strength against Thor 4-14 to 1-7 with a game to be post-played. It was a similar result between Black Widow and Rocket Raccoon. Nathan Crabb and Frank Napoli played an epic 5-game match, Nathan just managing to get over Frank in the 5th 11-5. Still in Broken Hill, and bocce is back for the winter as well. In Division 1 there were some cracking games. Triple D's beat the Bombers 12-6. Alco Penguins absolutely thumped Grono Wiegans 12-0. Falcons and Southern Oasis played out an epic in their fixture, Falcons just winning by a point. And the Tweakers did enough to get over Outback Emus. Finishing off with a little bit of soccer, in the SA Amateur League, Savoy had a 1-1 draw against Para Hills East in the top of the table clash. Savoy led at half-time thanks to a goal from Ben Higginbotham, but let the lead slip. They will face third-placed West Beach in a fortnight. In the NPL State League, Northern Demons let 3 first-half goals through from Adelaide University. The Demons will look to bounce back when they face cellar dweller Mount Barker this weekend. Thanks to all who sent through their results. And a reminder that if you want your sports results on 7 Spencer Golf News, send us an email at localsport@sca.com.au.
Let's check out the rest of the week's weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. It has been cold and rainy today, with maximum temperatures sitting in the mid-teens across the region. Port Augusta and Whyalla both reached 16 today. Port Lincoln, Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Adelaide all 15 degrees. Looking to the skies now, where we can see the showers and rain affecting the region. But let's move ahead to tomorrow, where a high-pressure system will creep in from Western Australia as a cold front crosses southern areas of the Gulf. On the waters tomorrow, southwesterly winds at 15 to 20 knots and seas to 1 metre. The sun will rise just after 20 past 7 in the morning, with sunset just before 5:30. And it's looking wet yet again tomorrow, with evening showers over most parts and areas of morning fog about Whyalla, the Flinders Ranges and the west coast. Port Augusta and Whyalla both expecting maximums of 17 with a slight chance of showers. Port Lincoln, Woodna and Broken Hill all 16. Coffin Bay, Port Pirie, Cleve, Kadina and Adelaide 15. Corn 14 degrees. Clare expecting a top of 11. Moving on now to the 4-day forecast. Port Lincoln remaining fine Thursday and Friday, showers expected on Saturday. Cleve expecting mostly sunny conditions on Thursday with possible morning fog. Friday looking sunny with strong winds on Saturday. Woodna partly cloudy Thursday and Friday with a sunny start to the weekend. Whyalla mostly sunny on Thursday, much the same on Friday, but Saturday will see strong winds at up to 45 kilometres an hour, causing dusty conditions. Port Augusta mostly sunny on Thursday with areas of morning frost. Friday and Saturday both looking sunny. Kadina partly cloudy with morning fog on Thursday. Friday mostly sunny and kicking off the weekend with some strong winds. To Port Pirie now, remaining fine Thursday and Friday. Saturday bright and sunny, much the same at Clare with lingering morning fog on Thursday. And finally to Broken Hill, Thursday looking fine with sunny conditions Friday and Saturday. Which brings us to the end of today's weather report. But before I go, Lou, I just want to wish a happy birthday to golfer Adam Scott, born on this day in Adelaide in 1980. Happy birthday, Adam. I hope the rain didn't put a dampener on your day.
Yes, Britt, we know how much you love your golf. A very happy birthday to Adam. And that's the local news this Tuesday. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.